The Old Guard, 2020, is an action fantasy film about a secret group of immortal warriors who have lived for centuries fighting in different wars and conflicts while trying to protect humanity. The story centers on their leader Andromache of Scythia, known as Andy, who is one of the oldest immortals alive and has grown tired after thousands of years of fighting and watching the world repeat the same cycles of violence. At the beginning of the film, Andy reflects on the endless battles she has fought throughout history. She feels exhausted by the constant question of whether each fight will finally be the one that ends her life. Despite being immortal, she carries the burden of centuries of loss and pain. Andy works with three other immortals: Booker, a former French soldier from the Napoleonic era, Joe, also known as Yusuf al-Kaysani, a warrior from the Crusades, and Nikki, or Niccolo di Genova, a former Crusader knight. Joe and Nikki were once enemies during the Crusades but eventually became lovers and companions after discovering their shared immortality. The group lives in secrecy, taking missions that they believe will help people and make the world slightly better. They are careful not to reveal their true nature to anyone because immortality would make them targets for exploitation. Their abilities allow them to heal quickly from any wound, making them nearly impossible to kill. Booker contacts Andy with a new job opportunity from a man named James Copley, a former CIA operative who claims that a group of kidnapped schoolgirls in South Sudan needs rescue. Andy is reluctant at first because the team avoids working twice for the same client due to the risk of exposure. However, the others convince her to at least meet Copley and hear his proposal. Believing they can save innocent lives, the team agrees to take the mission. When they arrive at the supposed hostage location, they discover it is actually a trap. The entire rescue mission was staged to capture them on video. Armed soldiers ambush the team and shoot them repeatedly, but their wounds heal and they continue fighting until they eliminate the attackers. Although they survive, the immortals realize that someone now has proof of their powers. Copley secretly recorded the entire event and provides the footage to a powerful pharmaceutical CEO named Stephen Merrick. Merrick runs a massive drug company and becomes obsessed with the possibility of using the immortals' biological abilities to create revolutionary medicines. His goal is not only to extend human life but also to make enormous profits. To achieve this, he wants to capture the immortals and experiment on them. Meanwhile, far away in Afghanistan, a young U.S. Marine named Niall Freeman is on a mission with her unit to capture a war criminal. During the operation, she is attacked and has her throat slit by the target. She dies briefly but then suddenly revives as her wound heals completely. Her fellow soldiers are shocked, believing she should be dead. Andy experiences a disturbing vision at the exact moment Niall dies and comes back to life. All immortals share a mysterious connection. When a new immortal appears, the others dream about them. From the dream, Andy realizes that a new immortal has been created. Although the team is already in danger after the trap in South Sudan, Andy decides she must find Niall before others notice her abilities. Andy tracks Niall down and confronts her while she is being transported by the military for medical testing. Niall is confused and frightened when Andy shoots her to demonstrate that she cannot die. The wound heals instantly, proving the truth. Andy explains that Niall has become immortal just like her and that her old life as a Marine is essentially over. If the military discovers the truth, they will imprison her for experimentation. Niall initially refuses to accept the reality of her situation. She believes Andy might be crazy or manipulating her, but after witnessing her own rapid healing multiple times, she realizes that something supernatural has happened. Andy takes Niall to a hidden safe house in France where she meets the rest of the immortals. Joe and Nikki explain more about their long lives and their history together. They describe how immortals sometimes appear randomly across the world and how they can live for centuries until, for unknown reasons, their immortality eventually disappears. Andy herself fears this may be happening to her because she recently noticed her wounds taking longer to heal. While the group adjusts to Niall's presence, they continue investigating Copley. Andy wants to stop whoever betrayed them before their secret spreads further. During their search, they discover that Copley is working with Merrick, who plans to capture the immortals for scientific experimentation. Eventually, the team captures Copley and interrogates him. Surprisingly, he explains that he originally believed exposing the immortals would benefit humanity. He had been studying history and realized that many important positive events, such as the rescue of civilians, the survival of certain key individuals, and even the creation of life-saving organizations, were indirectly influenced by the actions of Andy and her team. He believed that if their abilities were studied scientifically, their powers might save millions of lives. However, Andy realizes that Merrick's true intentions are not humanitarian. Merrick only wants to exploit them for profit and power. While the group debates what to do next, a deeper betrayal occurs. Booker, who has grown bitter after centuries of loneliness and suffering, secretly makes a deal with Merrick. Tired of living forever and watching everyone he loves die, he believes that helping Merrick might lead to answers about their condition or possibly even a way to end it. Booker betrays the group by helping Merrick capture Andy, Nikki, and Joe. Merrick imprisons them in a laboratory and begins preparing experiments to analyze their bodies. Niall and Copley manage to escape capture, and together they plan a rescue mission. In a large action sequence, Niall infiltrates Merrick's facility with Copley's help. She frees the captured immortals and the team fights Merrick's soldiers in brutal close-quarters combat. During the chaos, Andy discovers that she has lost her immortality completely. Her wounds no longer heal, meaning she can finally die like a normal human. Despite this, Andy continues fighting and eventually confronts Merrick. In the struggle, Merrick falls to his death, ending his plans to exploit them. After escaping the facility, the immortals regroup. Because Booker's betrayal endangered them all, the group decides to punish him by exiling him from the team for 100 years. The punishment reflects the unique nature of immortality. Time itself becomes the consequence. Andy also decides that Niall should join the group permanently. Although Niall is still adjusting to her new existence, she chooses to stay and fight alongside them. She realizes that if she must live forever, she would rather spend that time helping people and standing with others who understand her burden. After Niall joins the group, she begins learning more about their strange existence. She asks Andy and the others how old they truly are and whether immortality really means they can never die. Andy explains that immortality is not permanent. They heal from almost any wound and can survive for centuries, but eventually, for unknown reasons, their bodies simply stop healing. No one knows when or why it happens. One of their companions in the past had already experienced this, proving that even immortals can eventually die. Niall struggles to accept this new reality. She worries that Andy could have killed her when she first shot her to prove her powers. Andy tells her that new immortals heal quickly and that she knew Niall would survive. Still overwhelmed, Niall tries to rest but soon begins having disturbing dreams about a woman trapped inside an iron coffin deep under the ocean, drowning over and over again but never truly dying. When she tells the others about the dream, they immediately understand what she has seen. The woman in the vision is Quinn, the first immortal Andy ever found. Long ago, Andy and Quinn fought side by side for centuries and became inseparable companions. They traveled the world helping people and fighting battles together. However, during the era of European witch trials, they were captured and accused of witchcraft. Because they survived executions that should have killed them, their captors believed this proved their supernatural evil. Instead of continuing to execute them repeatedly, the authorities decided on a crueler punishment. Quinn was locked inside an iron coffin and thrown into the ocean. Because she was immortal, she would drown, revive, and drown again endlessly in complete darkness. Andy managed to escape but could never find the ship that carried Quinn away. For centuries she searched the oceans for her lost companion but eventually had to give up. The guilt of abandoning Quinn still haunts her deeply. While the team discusses this tragic story, armed soldiers suddenly attack their safe house. Explosions and gunfire destroy the building. During the chaos, Joe and Nikki are captured and taken away while Andy, Niall, and Booker manage to survive the ambush. The attackers work for Merrick, the pharmaceutical CEO who wants to study the immortals. Andy realizes they must rescue their teammates before Merrick can begin experiments on them. Joe and Nikki are transported to Merrick's secret laboratory where Merrick introduces himself. He believes the immortals' biology could lead to groundbreaking medical discoveries. Although he claims it could save millions of lives, his actions reveal a cruel obsession with scientific glory and profit. To test their regenerative abilities, Merrick's scientists repeatedly injure Joe and Nikki, watching their wounds heal while recording data. The experiments are painful and degrading, but the immortals refuse to cooperate. Meanwhile, Andy, Booker, and Niall search for Merrick's location. Niall tries to help track down Copley, the man who originally betrayed them. During this time, Niall and Booker talk about the emotional cost of immortality. Booker explains how painful it is to watch everyone you love grow old and die while you remain unchanged. He once had a family and children, but over centuries he lost them all. The grief and loneliness have slowly broken his spirit. Niall also struggles with the idea that she will outlive her own family. She still wants to return to her normal life, but she realizes that eventually people will notice she never ages. She begins questioning whether joining the Immortals is truly the life she wants. Eventually, Booker discovers Merrick's secret facility near London. However, just as Andy arrives at the location, Booker reveals a shocking betrayal. He has secretly been working with Copley and Merrick. Booker explains that after centuries of endless life and suffering, he believes humanity deserves to study their immortality. He also secretly hopes the research might reveal a way for immortals to finally die. During the confrontation, Andy is shot and seriously wounded. To everyone's shock, her injuries do not heal. Her immortality has finally ended. Booker realizes this too late and begins to regret his betrayal as Merrick's soldiers capture Andy and take her to the laboratory. Booker himself is also captured. In the lab, Merrick becomes fascinated when he learns Andy is no longer immortal. He orders his scientists to keep her alive while continuing experiments on the others. Despite their suffering, Joe and Nikki refuse to reveal any secrets. Meanwhile, Niall finds Copley and confronts him at gunpoint. Copley admits he betrayed them because he believed studying their powers could cure diseases and end suffering worldwide. However, he has now realized Merrick only wants control and profit. Copley also reveals something important. He spent years studying history and discovered that the Immortals' actions have secretly shaped many positive events in human history. People they saved eventually influenced scientific discoveries, humanitarian work, and even prevented disasters. This realization convinces Niall that Andy's work truly matters. She decides to rescue the team. With Copley's help, she infiltrates Merrick's building and begins fighting her way through armed guards. One by one, she eliminates them and reaches the laboratory where Joe and Nikki are being tortured. Niall frees them and together they start a massive battle inside the facility. At the same time, Andy escapes her restraints despite being wounded and mortal. Booker also joins them, trying to redeem himself by helping the team fight Merrick's soldiers. The group fights their way through the building toward the penthouse where Merrick is hiding. During the battle, Andy proves that even without immortality she is still an incredibly skilled warrior. They eventually corner Merrick on the roof of the building. Merrick tries to convince Andy that she is wasting an opportunity to save humanity. He claims that if she allows him to experiment on them, he could create medical breakthroughs that would change the world. Andy refuses, arguing that people like him cannot be trusted with such power. During the struggle, Niall kicks Merrick off the building, killing him. With Merrick dead, the team escapes before authorities arrive. Although they have survived, the betrayal still weighs heavily on them. As punishment for his actions, the group decides that Booker must live in exile for 100 years. During this time, he cannot contact or see them. The sentence reflects both justice and the long perspective of immortal lives. Niall decides to fully join the team. With Copley's help, they will continue their secret missions while also hiding their existence from powerful enemies. Copley agrees to help erase their digital footprints and protect their identities. The film ends with the group continuing their mission to quietly protect humanity. Andy, now mortal, accepts that she will one day die but chooses to keep fighting for as long as she can. In a final scene set months later, Booker is living alone in Paris when someone unexpectedly enters his apartment. The visitor is Quinn, the immortal woman who had been trapped in the ocean centuries ago. Somehow she has escaped her iron coffin and returned to the world. Her sudden appearance suggests that the past Andy believed was gone forever may now return with dangerous consequences. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.